welcome everybody, and particularly welcome to our friend Adiba. We are very, very pleased to have you with us today. The Grey Cells network and beyond, because we have many friends now in our what we call our network of Grey Cells friends all over the world, because it's enlarging, and we are very proud of that. By the way, let me say that. So Adiba, I think I need to present you, but very quickly, because almost everybody now knows here on the screen. You have been one of our panelists in the intergenerational dialogue late June, and we were so impressed by your vision, your experience, your personality, I have to say, that really we said, no, we have to talk more in depth with Adiba, and specifically with around her experience and her life. So with no further introduction, I would like to give you the floor. And as we put in the title of this great talk, you have the floor as a woman, as a survivor, as a fighter, as a journalist, as a student at the University of Geneva, as a refugee in Geneva. So you have many hats. So please, the floor is yours, and you pick the hat that you would like to have first.
Thank you so much, Manuela. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm so happy to share with you some of my experiences as a survivor. Somebody mentioned and wrote on my photo somewhere, a victim, and I always refused to be called a victim, because I was seeing myself as a fighter, as a survivor. And this is the second time that I'm a refugee. After the first time, I decided to go back to my country because I thought that there are so many victims. There are too many victims, and I don't want to be a victim. I want to be a fighter. I want to do something different for my people and for those victims who have, who have faced a lot of difficult stuff. So my name is Adiba. I just turned 28 years old. I've grown up in northern Iraq, particularly in Khanasur, in Sinjar. I was born and grown up there. I didn't went to school because the situation was difficult. So I did all my school home until 2014. In 2014, I found an opportunity to finally to be a student, to go to school and to do something in my village. I was always dreaming to be a biologist and to teach in my village. But unfortunately, the Islamic State have attacked Mosul and then Sinjar, and then committed a genocide against the Yazidi, from which I am a survivor. So I was one of the last people with my parents and siblings who survived from the village before the Islamic State arrived on 3rd of August 2014. I was 20 years old. I became the responsible for my family and for my siblings, and I took them, and we were this. Unfortunately, a lot of members from my family, they were left behind. They were taken by the Islamic State. Women were directly taken, and men were killed, and we survived. And then we went to Kyrgyzstan, and where we started to find solutions for our situation, what to do, where we go. And then as a Yazidi, as women, we always have earrings. Like all the girls, we have golden earrings on us, and that was the only thing that came with me from my home when the Islamic State attacked. And then I sold my earrings and the blankets and stuff, those NGOs and families from the safe area that were giving to us, and I made $100. And I paid it to a driver, and I took my siblings and my parents, and we migrated to Turkey, where we became refugees for the first time. I stayed there until 2015. I learned English in the refugee camp because we were 2,000 people and nobody was speaking in English, and there were a lot of NGOs and journalists were coming to the camp to, you know, to see our situation. And I wanted to express myself. I wanted to tell the world what was happening with us, what happened to my community. So therefore I learned English, and we stayed there until 2015. I was, you know, a bit active in the camp, and then some NGOs came, I joined them. We were doing activities with women and children until 2015, and then 2015 people started to migrate from Turkey to come to Europe with the refugee wave in 2015. When most of them, they came to Germany. I also put my siblings who were younger than me. I have 3 brothers and 1 sister. At the time, my little brother was only 11 years old. 2 of them, I sent them with smugglers, and 2 of them, I put them in a boat and I sent them to Germany with other refugees. And finally, they made it and they arrived in Germany. I left my parents in that camp and I decided to go back to Iraq. For me, it was so hard to come here. I mean, to come to Europe with other refugees, because I feel that I have nothing to lose, and I need to go back because we've lost a lot of people, my friends, my neighbors. I wanted to go back and to do something for those who are there. Therefore, I went back to Iraq from Turkey in 2015, and there I started to work with survivors and with child soldiers, with Yazidi women survivors who were held in captivity. Then I joined international media, and you know, I've been involved with that till now. So I will stop here, and maybe I will give it to Manuela to.
Thank you, Adiba, for this very quick summary of quite a complicated journey. You said, so it is now currently the 2nd time you are a refugee. And if I understand correctly, your first time was in Turkey, is that right?
Yes.
So maybe by now you have some distance, relatively speaking, regarding your own status as a refugee twice in 2 different contexts, 2 different countries, 2 different situations. And maybe you learn something with these 2 experiences, and you can compare them in terms also of not only your own experience as a refugee, as an individual, but also maybe regarding the perception of refugees by others. Mm-hmm. Of course, the case of Yazidi, on top of everything, has its own specificity. Maybe you would like to comment on that?
Yeah, sure. After I went back to Iraq, I was hoping actually to stay there. You never wanted to leave everything behind me, because I was thinking that it is easy to go to start over, but I wanted to take the risk. I was feeling that it's my responsibility to stay in my country. And as I say, there were so many victims. And there were not a lot of women active in my field, you know, translating and documenting. And also I saw that the international media, they were not really showing everything, the reality and what was going there, because geographically it was very complicated, and politically, and there were a lot of militia and a lot of military groups were involved in that area. So therefore it was difficult for international media to really access to all those places and to show what was happening. So I decided actually to work as a guide at the beginning, and then, you know, to become a freelancer journalist with the international media. So I was guiding them and taking them to different places. I was speaking, I was going on TV. I was working with BBC, with CBS, with PBS, with Le Monde, with all those media. I was trying really to do something. But then as a woman, it was really, really difficult. First of all, as a Yazidi who is trying to really show the reality, which was against a lot of those groups who didn't protect us when the genocide happened. So for them, it was difficult when I was saying and showing the reality. So and then as a woman in Iraq, it was really, really tough. So I was every day taking like risks to go on to do my job. And every morning I was leaving my home. The area I was staying, every morning I was going to work. I wasn't sure if I will come back alive in the evening, as very close friends of mine who were doing the same job, they were killed, and some of them were kidnapped because of what they were doing. But still I was staying until the end. I wanted to really to do my job and to take my part in this responsibility. So I was doing that until end of 2017. And I was also involved a lot with survivors, as I said, with child soldiers. I would be trying to find rehabilitation for them, because I found that if there is no education and rehabilitation for those child soldier survivors, and they're gonna be the future ISIS. So we need to really find solutions. And I was communicating with other youths from different communities in Iraq. Like Iraq is complicated, it's a diverse. There are Yazidi, Muslims, Christian, and other small minorities. We were trying to find solutions together. It was very hard. So I arrived to that point where I was no longer allowed to do my work, as I mentioned, as a Yazidi, as a woman, and as a journalist who is trying to say the reality. It was very difficult for me as a survivor from the genocide, a Yazidi who lost so many members from her family, and me, I was one of the last people survived. So when I was going to take my my permission from the authorities to go to do my job as a journalist, they were hurting me, like verbally saying to me, you benefited from the genocide, so thanks to the genocide now you are a free woman, now you are working with international media. And that was so difficult for me. It was killing me, because who wanted the genocide to happen? I was suffering a lot, but I continued. I was accepting that. It was so hard for me, but I was accepting to be able to do my job for my people. But unfortunately, until end of 2017, I lost all my permissions, and I was not allowed to continue. Some of my friends, journalists, were kidnapped. Therefore, I left my country again for the second time, which wasn't easy at all, because I never imagined to leave my country. And then I was very lucky. At that time, it was the same time when I got an invitation from Geneva to come to participate in a minority forum. And I went to Turkey. I ran to Turkey. I went to the embassy. I applied for the visa. They gave me the visa. I came to Geneva. And then after the minority forum, I seek asylum. I asked for protection. Been 4 years I'm in Switzerland as a refugee. I applied for asylum in Switzerland. It was really tough, and but what shocked me was that my asylum was rejected by Switzerland in July 2020. I appealed, and I just recently got my asylum. So I recently won. So then 4 years I didn't leave the country. My family are in Germany. My parents also joined, my siblings, they're all living in Germany. I couldn't leave the country. I couldn't go to see them. Still, some of my family, some of them they came to see me, but some of the others I haven't seen them since 7 years. So yeah.
7 years. Before giving the floor to all our participants here, and we are a small group, so it should be easy to participate and to raise directly the questions, but I have one burning question. It is related to the very recent trial that was concluded last week, I think, in Germany, in Frankfurt, which is the first time that an ISIS soldier was condemned with the label in the trial itself of responsible of the genocide. So it is the first time that there was a legal connection, so to speak, between this condemnation, this trial, one individual, and the war genocide. And as you know, just a few days ago, we had here a great talk precisely on the notions, the concepts of crimes against humanity and genocide since Nuremberg to today, try to have an assessment of the evolution of these two concepts and how they can be applied by the international criminal law today. So I would like to have your views. How do you feel, again, you as an individual, as a Yazidi, but also as a researcher, as a student of international relations, when you take some distance regarding what happened in Frankfurt? And do you feel that justice, quote and unquote, was made in a way? How do you feel about that?
It is so difficult to make a distance, you know. For me, it was amazing. I mean, for all Yazidi people that day, when the trial happened and, you know, the final decision came, my people were saying, yeah, it's a historical day. It's a victory for us, you know. I mean, for me as a survivor, as a Yazidi, it's a small step, you know. A small step, but a big step at the same time, you know, it was the first trial. So I don't have so much to say, but I mean, I hope that it will be an example that other countries will follow, like international community, but also like Iraq, you know, which is the most important country to recognize and to do something. We live in Iraq, you know, we genocide happened in Iraq, but unfortunately, I mean, since 7 years, my people are still, like, you know, living in the tents. My people are, you know, not safe. There are still like thousands of women and children remain kidnapped, you know. So the genocide is ongoing, and it will take generations and generations until, you know, we find justice. So I don't have so much to say about that, but it was a great step, you know. It was a great step. So we hope that more will come from that direction.
I see. So you were in a way relatively satisfied by the fact that that first step was taken, but it's certainly not the end of this.
Exactly. Yeah, we hope that it will open, you know, the door for other countries to participate and to take their responsibilities. I mean, they were also, you know, it happened in Europe, but there were a lot of ISIS members who came from Europe, you know, and we as, you know, as Yazidi, we want those countries to take their responsibility, you know. So we hope. But it will take so much time, we know. So
yeah, and one final comment on that. When I read about the trial itself from the legal perspective, I understand that, which makes sense, that applying the definition of genocide to one single individual, one single soldier in this case, was very difficult, because how do you demonstrate that there was genocide with just one person? So it is a big difference as compared to other trials on genocides.
True, but I mean, yeah, I mean, what was amazing is that for us was an important point when, you know, the UN investigation, you know, they had like clear evidence that what happened. They found the clear evidence that what happened against the Yazidi was a genocide, you know. So and I listened to them. I wasn't there when for the present talk about the genocide, and then you were talking about how to say, you know, that to say a genocide or crimes against humanity. There are two things, you know. So yes, the terms genocide, you know, I mean, it was a genocide what happened against us, you know, like it was particularly against the Yazidi. I mean, many communities and minorities in Iraq suffered, you know, from what Islamic State done, but they came particularly against the Yazidi, you know. The other communities and minorities, they had an option, you know, to leave their home, to leave their whatever they had for ISIS, but for the Yazidi, they were killed and their women were taken. So this is not the first time that was happening. So they were, you know, those genocides have been, you know, continuing since centuries. So I mean, for me as a Yazidi from the northern Iraq, we were always rejected. I've grown up in poverty and difficulty, and people were growing up in the mountains because they were scared always. You know, my grandfather, my father, they didn't even go to school. You know, my generation was one of the first generation who could really go to the university. You know, to go a little bit. You know, to go a bit further. but unfortunately, yeah.
That leads me to David's question precisely. Why is that? What do you think are the reasons that there was so much animosity toward Yazidis? Why?
Why?
And he has a second question. Yes. How do you see your own fate in the context of the war in Iraq? Is it mainly due to the Yazidi identity, or is it mainly because you are a woman?
Sorry, but the first question was
So the first question is, why this animosity against Yazidis?
Yeah,
you said it goes back
exactly.
decades, centuries, years ago, but where does it come from and why?
Yeah, it's a religion always. Every time that happens is the religion, because they try to, they were like, even during the genocide of 2014, even all the men before they get killed, they all had to convert to Islam. They were converted to Islam, and then they were killed, and then all the women they have converted. It's all because of the religion. And then the Yazidi community is like a very quiet community, a very quiet religion, very spiritual, and we don't even have a book, but this, the religion have been surviving since so many centuries, and then, like, for example, we had a book like Bible or Quran, but it was taken during the past genocides, and then this community, they managed to put themselves together and keep their community together by verbally telling the story to their children and to grandchildren. And this is how we've been, and we are not even a million now, because it has been finishing and been forgotten. So yeah, I would say it's because of the religion.
Religious, yeah.
Exactly.
And then the second question, what is more important for you? Is it your Yazidi identity or being a woman in the context of your surviving? I mean,
I would say both. I mean, as a Yazidi woman, with everything, the Yazidi women have lived and have suffered also, and then as an Iraqi woman, in general, Iraqi women, they have been through a lot, and they are trying to survive. So yeah,
even without the war, I mean.
Yes, it's very difficult for the women and in general in Middle East, but particularly in Iraq. And since I remember, since they told me that before I was there, that the women they had certain and freedom and education and freedom to choose what she wants, etc. But since I remember, women have been suffering, and me as growing up as a woman was very difficult for me. I didn't. I couldn't go to school. I had other problems, but I learned reading and writing from the window of the school, and I know a lot of girls were not able to go to school because they were girls, So it been always difficult for women, and there was also early marriage, like women was raised to to get married, to have children, and then. I remember I was always saying, no, I want to be different. I want to go to school. I want to be a teacher. I don't want to be follow other women, etc. So, yeah, as a woman, as a Yazidi, as an Iraqi, I continue fighting.
Esther is asking about child soldiers, because she also worked for years from UNICEF. Regarding child soldiers. So she's curious about the rehabilitation process undertaken in your case, in the case of the children that you had to address, and how you were involved in that process.
So for the Yazidi child soldiers, the Yazidi children who were kidnapped with their mothers, and then they were trained to be child soldiers and to fight with ISIS, and then after they came back, they were living in the IDP camps. There were some organizations, international organizations, who were having some psychologists, trying to help those children, but unfortunately they were not meeting their needs. They've seen everything. Even some of them, they were injured, and their situation was really bad. But unfortunately, there was no support. And I remember there was one case that instead of taking him to to give him rehabilitation, psychological support, the case was taken to the prison because they thought that he's dangerous. And they thought because he was with the Islamic State, he's still singing their songs, he's still saying a sentence from Quran or what the ISIS was teaching them. So it was very difficult. But then some of those children were rehabilitated outside of Iraq. For the Yazidi cases, they were taken and they have been they got enough support, and some of them now they are even at the universities and they are doing really well. But unfortunately for those who stayed in Iraq, their situation is really still really bad, and they are in the IDP camps. For the other child soldiers from Mosul, for example, for them, the Sunni, the Muslims, some of those people, I mean, some families, they voluntarily joined the Islamic State because they believed in the ideology, like uncles or fathers. So their children were also obliged to go and to fight their children, and they were underage. And some of them, they were forced because they didn't have time to leave Mosul when the Islamic State attacked. So they obliged to stay, and they were forced again to join the Islamic State. And then during the liberation in 2017 in Mosul, some of those children, many of them actually were captured by the Kurdish authority, and they were taken to the prison. So I've been meeting them in the prison. So some, because they were underage, and after, I mean, they stayed 3 years under the Islamic State. So they were adult now. They are 18 or even over. So they were in the prison. Until 2017, I was meeting them. I was even going to the prison and trying, to raise awareness, and trying, with international media, trying maybe we could find some solutions. But then I've left, and I am sure that not much has been done since then. I've not been following a lot because I don't know what happened to those children in the prison, but the rest I am in contact, and I know that the situation is not really good. And what I mean, I don't say that the organizations in their camps haven't done something. They've been, but actually like a lot of their, how to say, psychological, they were not qualified to work with child soldiers. I hope I answered to your question.
Thank you so much, Adiba. You said minutes ago that there is an ongoing genocide, so it's not over, and that process, terrible process, continues. So Gashe is asking, could individual cases be solved, like kidnappings, for instance, or should the international community do something else? What sort of policies, what sort of measures could be taken to stop that genocide that is still ongoing?
I mean, here when we talk about Islamic States, they think that that they are gone, that they've lost the power, but actually they are still. I mean, there are attacks around. They're still ongoing. I mean, where are all those women and children, who have been kidnapped? So we have no news about most of them. And then in those camps where there are like ISIS families, in the Al-Hol or other camps, we from time to time we find some Yazidi kidnapped women or children, and I don't know. I think international media could do something about that, but we have been forgotten. And then and the other side, when I say the genocide is ongoing, is since 7 years the Yazidi have left home, and they are not able to return to their home, because, as I said, politically it's really difficult. There is the Iraqi government who want to control Sinjar, and then there is the Kurdish government who want to control Sinjar. So between them there are conflicts, so they can't agree on something, and who will protect whom, who will protect where. And then on the other side, in 2014, when the Islamic State attacked Sinjar, we were left alone. The Yazidi were left alone, and then we were promised that we're going to be protected by the Kurdish authority, by the Peshmerga. But when the Islamic State attacked us in 3rd of August 2014, they all left us, and we were actually left alone. So therefore other militia came, and other like PKK came, and they say they help Yazidi to survive, many Yazidis. So, and then the other young Yazidis, like girls and boys, the survivors, actually they joined some of those militia just to defend themselves, to defend their land. And they are still continuing, they're still in the mountains today. But then on the other side, the Turkey is coming and bombing them because they are allowed to bomb the PKK wherever they are. But those people they're not PKK, they are just Yazidi fighters who are defending themselves. And they have been there every time they're getting attacked by the Turkish. And the last attack actually was yesterday in my village in Khanasor. So it's ongoing. People can't go back home. People are in the camp. And then in the camp, there is the trauma from the genocide. There are still survivors there. And there are a lot of young people, they commit suicide because, and then there is no enough education. There is poverty. So all of that, like it cannot be worse, honestly.
Yeah, regarding women issues, you said that in Iraq it's not easy to be a woman anyway, in general, not only as a Yazidi, because, well, we know what the environment, the social environment is. So what could be done from the international community to get Iraq to adopt more inclusive policies, to start a process where women are more included, and particularly, of course, taking into account the Yazidi situation, more specifically within that pro-women context that is not in place? What can be done? Do you think that something from the international community could be done to put pressure on the Iraqi government?
I think our problem is more inside, from my point of view. I mean, there is no security, inside. Like, okay, I am, for example, I'm here now in Switzerland. I get education, I get all the qualification. I go back there, and I'll be killed, So Iraq is not safe. I mean, yes, it's difficult for women, but Iraq is not safe neither for men or for women, like for young people. I mean, been 2 years, there are like demonstration, and their young people are going on the street, also women and men, the young generations, and they're getting killed and kidnapped. So I don't know. I can't say much about this. So Iraq is really it's really dangerous for everyone. So it will take time. It will take time. Yeah.
Maybe so issue security is still really a major obstacle.
Exactly. I mean, when the security problem is solved, then the rest will follow. But it's yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the demographic of the Yazidi community? I mean, you said you are more or less a little bit less than 1 million total now. But for instance, before the ISIS calamity, what was the size of the population of Yazidis at that time? Is the birth rate in the Yazidi community now more or less back to the pre-IS levels? And where did you manage as a community to escape? You mentioned Germany, but also Turkey, yeah. Some other countries probably?
We were about 1 million then before, and then when we still I can't communicate the numbers of how many were killed and how many were kidnapped, because there is still not an exact we are still not sure. But then the biggest Yazidi community was in Sinjar, and then we had also in Syria, in Turkey, in Iran, but they became very, very small because of the genocides. And then, during the Armenian genocide, the Yazidi were also targeted at that time. Therefore, we have now a big Yazidi community in Armenia. And in Georgia, we have our, Yazidi holy places. Those are the only places, where Yazidi, like outside of Turkey and Iraq, where Yazidi could have, you know, their holy places and practice their religion freely. Like we have now a very big Yazidi population in Germany. Since very long time, Yazidi have been migrating to Germany, and they have been accepted in Germany. But also we have some in Netherlands. We have in the US, like in 2003 when the US came to Iraq, some Yazidis, they were a lot of Yazidi actually, they were working with them as translators, and then all those translators with their family, they were taken to the US because they were getting targeted by the group of terrorists. So we've got a population in the US, we've got now in Canada and Australia, since they took survivors, they opened their doors to Yazidi survivors from the genocide of 2014. So we are now everywhere. The Yazidi in Turkey, actually, they stayed there only temporary. It was the bridge, you know, to come to Europe or to go to somewhere else. There are still many Yazidis in Turkey waiting to be taken by the UN somewhere. So yeah, but then the biggest number is in Iraq, and the refugee and in the IDP camps in Kurdistan region. And then when the genocide happened, actually many people, they went to the mountain in the north, and they were stuck in the mountain, and so a lot of them, they've died because there was no water. The weather was very hot, like 50 degrees. And then most of us also went to the other side, to Kurdistan, to Erbil, Duhok, in this region where it was not far from, like, it were actually a few kilometers far from the Islamic State, but still it was remained safe. And this is, like, you know, now the home for the Yazidis who are IDPs.
So in Kurdistan, and I think you mentioned also that before, you managed to establish some refugees communities of Yazidis in Kurdistan, is that correct?
Yes.
And what is the relation between the Yazidis and the Kurdish authorities, or the population in general in Kurdistan, around Erbil, for instance?
Well, could you please, I didn't get, like, what's the relation between the Yazidi and Kurdistan?
The refugees that are in Kurdistan now. Yeah.
Well, it's very hard, because imagine you are a refugee in your own country, you know. It's not good. I mean, still, I mean, we are grateful for what they have done, you know, to host us, because already for them also it's not easy. They've been trying, you know, to they had also a referendum trying to, you know, create their own nation. They also, and since few days, ISIS has been attacking their villages as well, but they've done a great job by hosting us, helping us, but in general it's very difficult. It's not easy. And then also there is like a lack of trust, because in 2014 they promised us to protect us, the Kurdish authority, Kurdistan, and they left us when the ISIS came. Nobody found, and we were left alone. So it's hard for us to trust again, you know, to build the trust again between Yazidi and the Kurdish, between the Yazidis and the Arab villages around, who all, you know, we've been, you know, neighbors for 70 years, and then in an hour they joined Islamic State, and they kidnapped Yazidi women and killed men. So it is very difficult to build the trust again among the different groups.
Yeah. And do you think there will be in the future, but maybe there is already now, some sort of leadership, or recognized leadership within the Yazidi community that, of course, then is part as a refugee abroad and part spread all over Iraq and Kurdistan and Turkey and so on? So in terms of leadership, of organization of the Yazidi community, what is the situation and what could be the future?
Well, there are some Yazidi organizations that were born after the genocide, like Yazda, for example, and then we've got, you know, other. So like Yazidi organization for documentation, for example, they are working, they are trying to find solutions. They sit with everyone, you know, Iraqi, Kurdish, but it's very slow. Then, you know, we also have Yazidis who participate in the politics in Iraq, which was always difficult because we don't get enough space there. Our place is not in politics. That's what they tell us. But it is, you know, it is moving a little bit forward, but it's really slow. I mean, internationally also there are Yazidis who, you know, in the international level who are fighting, like Nadia Murad, for example, and other Yazidi members who have been active since 2014, you know, I remember in 2014, they were fighting, I mean, not fighting, they were demonstrating in front of the White House. Also, those were Yazidi refugees who were in the US, and, you know, they've established organizations, and then they raise a voice about the Yazidis. I mean, it's ongoing. We all are doing our part, every Yazidis, you know. People sometimes tell me, is it easy for you to talk about the genocide? I mean, yeah, we normalize it, you know. I mean, because we have to do something. We forgot to sit and cry, and, you know, we have to do something, and we all are doing our little part by speaking here, by doing something here. I mean, but there is not, yeah, it's very slow. I mean, we inspire. They tell us, yeah, you are very strong, you are inspiring, but what else, you know? Then it finished, and everyone take the apéro, and then, yeah. So it's really yeah, we sometimes feel, yeah, we've left behind, we've been forgotten, and yeah. And there's also so much going on in the world, like what is happening in Afghanistan, for example. And then what scares me is that something is going to happen somewhere else, and, you know, Afghanistan, for example, will be forgotten, like the Yazidis, and yeah, there is no more interest in the region. So international media go somewhere else, talk about something else. So yeah, I mean, it's difficult, but I still have hopes, you know, that something will change.
Sure. What happened to your broader family who were left behind? Do you have news? Are you in contact somehow? And what do you think? What do you think they expect from you now that you are in Switzerland? You are an activist, so to speak. Do they expect some sort of help from you?
My brother, who is, is my half brother, who is left behind with his family. They are in Sinjar. My brother is working. He's opening mines with an organization, you know, where ISIS left mines. So this is his job. This is how his family live. Because he's opening mines and, you know, cleaning the houses, and then this is how he is getting paid. He with his family there. I have news about them, but it's not good. Yesterday, for example, when I heard that there is an attack in my town, I directly thought, yeah, my brother is gone, you know, because it could happen any day, you know, like whenever there is something, I think, oh, my brother is in it. The situation is really bad, but as we said, I mean, they normalize it, you know, it became normal for them. The situation is like, it's been 7 years that they live under attack, you know. If they expect some help from me, not really. When I speak, they tell me they're proud that they have a voice, that someone, you know, is speaking for them, is, you know, telling that what have happened to our community. But rather than that, no. They normalize the situation. They didn't have the opportunity to leave. They couldn't leave, and it's too late to leave. So they just accept and they leave day by day.
Why is it too late?
But they can't get out. I mean, how, you know, where they gonna go? I mean, look at what is happening with all those refugees in Belarus, and all those refugees on those borders are dying, you know. Yeah, I mean, to die there or to die here. So yeah, for some people, they say, yeah, I will die in my land is better than to die on people's borders, you know. So yeah.
Would you say that then part of the responsibility also lies on those who have a refugees policy? I mean, the hosting countries. Of course, I'm thinking about European countries in the first place.
Yeah.
You think that something should be done regarding the refugee status and to try to be a little bit more flexible, to facilitate a little bit more help to the communities like yours that can demonstrate a genocide, particularly now that there is at least a legal precedent?
Mm-hmm.
Would that change something?
You mean if, because it is like now a legal case, do you think that if that gonna help the Yazidi to get status? So
for instance, yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it depends. There are a lot of refugees who are coming from other places as well. You know, all those refugees, they deserve a status, they deserve a safe place. They all deserve to be hosted by a country, but I don't think it's gonna help. You know, when it comes to the refugees, I don't think, you know, and I mean, and then no country will take IDPs from their own countries and bring them here, even if they are homeless, even if they are living in the tents as IDPs. Nobody will get them out of there because they're still in their own country, you know. So, and then also like in on those borders, they have been, Yazidis have been in the camp since 7 years, you know, waiting. In Greece, for example, in Turkey, they have been waiting. Some of them have been taken to safe places. The rest, no. I don't know. I don't believe that this legal case will help Yazidis to get a refugee status.
So probably it's not enough. Not even that is enough.
Absolutely not. No. What I mean, this trial was good, but from my point of view, it's a very small step, you know, before so many others. So.
Is it also because you are a small community, as you said, not even 1 million all over the world, which is a small number as compared to the flow of refugees?
Exactly, it is a small number, but when it comes to the refugee, every country say, yeah, we are hosting too many refugees, when actually there are not too many. Yeah.
If you have known then at that time when you left your country what you know now, what would you have done differently?
Wow. I don't regret what I've done. It was great, and I had nothing to lose, and I always say I could only win. I could only change something. And I'm grateful for what I've done, and I would have continued if I had the opportunity, and if I was granted safety, you know. But I run because I thought my community, my people, or other communities like us, they need me free and alive, because I could perhaps do much more, you know, and give the example to other, you know, other people who live in the same situations, you know, how to stand up and build their community again. Because in 2014, when the genocide was happening, we were running and we were all like expecting something from Geneva, you know, as you know, the capital of human rights. Everyone is together, they're talking about us, they're gonna come to save us. But you know, we were hoping for disappointed. So what I'm, you know, trying to bring to my people and to other people is that nobody will come and save you, you know. We have to stand, we have to alone we can't do everything. We do need support, but we have to do something by our own. So I think I wouldn't have changed anything if I you know, I every day I add more. I grow. I was young. I took a lot of risks, you know, but I did everything right. And I do continue doing things on my way and what I think is right. And yeah, no regrets.
Very good. Having no regrets is your major success, probably. Do you know if there are Yazidis trying to cross the channel to get into Britain now? Those that are in Europe, I mean, already.
They were in Belarus. There were some Yazidis over there.
Aha, in Belarus. And what about the channel, crossing the channel to get into Britain? Is that something that happens?
No, there were some Kurds, but I haven't heard that they were Yazidi. No.
Okay.
Yeah, there were a lot of Kurds that from from Kyrgyzstan that were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now going back to what can be done, Gabrielle is asking if we as ex-UN staff members, if there is something we could do to influence, for example, changing the EU's policy regarding refugees, and try to put some pressure in this regard. But then, of course, not only regarding Yazidis, even if the genocide case is, again, a very good case in that sense. But do you think that we could do something? We are all retired. In case.
Put pressure on the system to accept more refugees?
Somehow, maybe. I don't know how exactly, but if you have some specific suggestion, please let us know. Huh? We are willing to explore.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, even like there are like refugees here in Switzerland, but they get rejected. Like just small example, they get rejected and they want to send them back because for some reason. So I think yeah, we can I mean, most of those refugees, I mean, that I've met, they are all have amazing level of educations. They could do amazing work. They could do, they could find them job opportunities. I think they could be really useful. So find them, I mean, for example, or bring them to the universities. A lot of Syrian, they've left their school and they are waiting to be taken by other university, school, and to continue their education. For example, this could be a solution, to bring them and to give them opportunities and then let them decide. So I think yeah, you could benefit from the refugees, but I don't know what exactly you can do, more than just pushing the system and also educating the host communities that refugees are not terrorists, because we are always as a refugee, every time in the refugee centers they come, how to educate refugees, how to educate migrations, but nobody say how can we educate the host communities. They also need education to accept us, and why we are here. So and like when I was in the centers and meeting people and telling them where I came from, they say, but we don't see that on the TV. So yeah, I think maybe you can raise awareness about the refugees, and that we are also educated people. We didn't come from caves, and that we could also be useful for the society, for the community. We can integrate, we can work, So
yeah. Better information and better education. Exactly. On that side too, particularly.
There's so much to do if they want to do,
Sure. David is also raising a very interesting question regarding insofar as it is fair to compare the situation of refugees or migrants, because he says the comparison between the Yazidi fate and the desperate situation of Iraqis on the Belarusian-Polish border, which is in the news these days. The media reports that many of the people at the border paid thousands of dollars to reach the border of the EU. So certainly they're not the poorest or the ones with no other options. Do you also compare the Yazidi fate to that of the immigrants from Africa and other conflict countries? Can you make a comparison? Is it fair in the first place to make comparisons?
It's difficult because nobody will leave their home if they were, there was no need. I mean, who will put their child in a sea if there was actually a poem that I read about it, like who will put their child in a sea if the sea is not safer than I mean, I think all those people they are all migration refugees. They are all looking for a better life. I can't compare. I mean, it's really difficult. It's really difficult. I mean, in the refugee centers, every single person has a crazy story. And me, as a survivor from the genocide, I arrived to the refugee centers. I forgot about myself, and I started just to cry about people and what they've lived, and been months and months. They have been crossing jungles and countries and borders with their children. So they all deserve asylum. And I think, yeah, if there was no problem, they would have not been here. And I think all those are brave people who are give their life another chance to live. Imagine, I mean, they know, I mean, me, when I sent my siblings to Europe, there was a 40%, that they could make it, and then 60% that they might die. I thought about it, and we had to accept it, So, and I paid, talking about how much, that they're not poor and how much money they pay. I paid $20,000 to the smugglers to bring my siblings in. And I was, beside my work as a humanitarian and doing things for my community, I was translating in the night to be able to pay to the smugglers, even though my siblings made it safe. I had to work for a year to be able to pay those smugglers. So I don't know.
How do you see your future, Adiba? Is it a future here in Switzerland, in another European country, elsewhere, back to Iraq, if security is not an issue anymore?
Yeah, so I think, yes, since I left my home in Sinjar, since I left home, I always say, wherever I am, I say, home is the people around you, how you have your own community. Because when I went back to my village in 2016 and 17, and it was my home, it was my house there, my street and everything. There were some walls there, mountain was there, but it was not home anymore because none of my people was there. None of my neighbors who've grown up, my relatives, my cousins, nobody is there. They've been all taken. So, so now wherever I go, wherever I have people around me where I've been accepted by, I find home, Switzerland was rejecting me. They rejected my asylum. I still could say I found home here because I met amazing people, people who believe in me, people who support me, so my future, I think, I could be anywhere. I think wherever I can serve, wherever I can be useful, I will go, this is home. That's home for me, where I can really be useful, I would say. Because I do believe I think what I've been through, what I faced, it didn't happen just for me to arrive here. I feel I'm in a mission, to do something. Yeah.
And certainly more should be done, as you said before, to educate the host countries, the potential host country, to improve their understanding of the situation. And by the way, what are the reasons that Switzerland gave you to reject the asylum request?
Yeah, so they rejected my asylum as an Iraqian, that I am Iraqian, and that if they say, okay, there is war in Iraq, and they have to accept all the Iraqis and give asylum to all of them. So it's not possible. They rejected me, and then I had to inform them. I had to educate somehow that I am beside Iraqi, and I am Yazidi, from a persecuted community. Plus, I have been a journalist, a woman, and I have been doing this and this and that with all the evidence, So it took them 3 years to give me the decision that I am rejected, and then I had to appeal against their decision, and I won. And then they gave me the decision. They reconsider the case, and then it was shocking me when they sent me the decision saying vous avez pas la qualité de réfugié. I was really shocked. I don't have a quality of refugee. What else could happen? Because I didn't lose an arm, because I didn't lose an eye, doesn't mean I'm not a refugee. So this is why they rejected me, because I'm an Iraqi. But I appealed with my lawyer, who is from Geneva, Swiss lawyer, and we won my case. So asylum was given to me a few months ago, and I'm still waiting for more papers to come to travel for the first time. So soon I will be traveling to see my family again.
Your family in Germany or your family?
In Germany.
In Germany.
Yes, I wasn't allowed to cross any border since I'm in Switzerland.
While you were waiting for the reconsideration of the decision, is that right?
Exactly, because if I don't have a refugee status, I'm not allowed to leave the country. So I have to stay until there is a decision. And this is like, they give me like a permis F, like a protection provisoire, but I was not able to do anything. Like normally people with this permit, they have to stay in Switzerland until their country is safe and they will send them back, which is the case with so many Syrian asylum seekers, unfortunately, but then I have been already at the university. I have been, been independent and everything. So but still I was not able to go anywhere. I have to stay here, even it might take 10 years until Iraq, 20 years. So I will be living with that permit, but fortunately it changed. So now I've been granted with asylum and I can live my life like, freedom, like anyone.
In a way you were lucky, relatively speaking. In a way, relatively speaking, you were lucky.
I was lucky, yes.
As compared to many others.
Absolutely. But I mean, that's the thing, like a lot of I study international relations and focusing on law, and I've been studying Swiss law, all their refugee law and everything. I know you by heart. But then what about people who don't know? Like people come here and they apply for asylum. And then there is a chance like 90% that their asylum will be rejected because they came from like war zones. You have to have like specific reasons, to get like asylum here, because there is Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, etc. So they cannot host all of them. So they will give the asylum only to those who are persecuted personally. So and then loi sur l'asile, article 3, blah blah. I was looking at it and say, yeah, but I mean, when I'm reading this, I see myself in it. I deserve asylum, but you have to know it. You have to be informed. You have to, and then you have 30 days to appeal against their decision. But so many people, they don't know. Then the 30 days passed. They couldn't do appeal, and it's gone, So there's lack of information.
Is it easier in Germany, you think, regarding these asylum states?
It depends. I think now it's more difficult. In 2015 it was, when Germany hosted a lot of refugees. My family were granted with asylum easily, and then they brought my parents also because my youngest brother was underage. But I don't think it's easier there for the moment. I think everywhere is, the refugee policy, I think is difficult everywhere for the refugees.
Yeah.
So, a lot of, they reject a lot of cases.
Yeah. A lot of similarities in this regard regarding Switzerland and the EU overall situation, whatever is the country. Exactly. Well, I think we have to stop here. We could stay for a long while talking to you, but let's keep in our mind, as Grace says, what you told us regarding educating the host country, the potential host country and communities. So try to share information, and maybe we could think about sharing your experience with other refugees communities here in Geneva, in Switzerland in general, and use Greytalk as a sort of channel to facilitate this kind of contacts for the benefit of refugees. As you said, it's really because you knew and you were able to have a lawyer and to understand the law and to study, to be educated, but others do not have that opportunity. And therefore, maybe we can think about that. There are a lot of initiatives. Virginia mentioned that in the chat. Some initiatives here in Geneva, in particular, regarding how better to integrate refugees in the community, in the Geneva communities. And also we could do more in the opposite direction. So let's keep in touch. Thank you so much for your very, very transparent, very, as I can say it, very relaxed conversation with us in spite of all the difficulties and the bad memories that it brings to you. Thank you very much for that. That shows your friendship to us. I think it is some sort of friendship that we are creating here. I hope you feel like that. And let's keep in touch for the future. Thank you so much, Adiba.
May I say?
Alexandra want to say something?
Yes, I really wanted to thank you very much for your very moving presentation. It brings back to me to the importance of voice and representation. And hearing your work, hearing your passion, and hearing the fight that you have been fighting, it's really important. I think that the media is doing some kind of harm by presenting the situation of refugees just like a shot, not hearing really what the reasons behind and their histories, the human side of their path is not always mentioned. So it's usually a small clip and you don't really assess everything. So thank you very much. It was really very moving. We will share this information as much as possible in our network. And as Manuela said, let's keep in touch. I think we could have spent hours in this, but let's keep in touch. Thank you very much.
So much. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.